And good afternoon. You're listening to Ken Hudnall. This is the Ken Hudnall Show. Coming to you from our studios right here in exciting El Paso, Texas. Gateway to the Old West and the most haunted city in the country. Well, today is August 4th, 216th day of this year. It's just shooting by. We've got some interesting observances for this date. National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day honors the classic treat invented in 1938. National Night Out, community event connecting neighbors and local law enforcement. Happens on the first Tuesday of August. And it's the U.S. Coast Guard birthday. Marks the creation of the Revenue Marine Service by President George Washington in 1790. And for those who follow presidential birthdays, it's Barack Obama's birthday. I'm sure he's expecting a national outpouring of enthusiasm, since he and so many others in the Democratic Party seem to think he's a living god. For those who like to watch the night sky, the night of August 12th is going to be unique. It's the peak of the Perseid meteor shower. It's going to be a moonless new moon and a bright Milky Way core. You'll be able to see 90 or more shooting stars per hour. Best time is right after midnight through dawn on the August 12th and 13th. Perfect dark skies because the peak lands on a new moon with zero moonlight interference. And if you look to the northeast near the constellation of Perseus, though meteors can streak anywhere overhead, but you'll see some interesting things. The Milky Way is going to be visible in high contrast all night due to the complete lack of moonlight, and this is a unique thing, folks. Just before dawn on August 12th, look low in the eastern sky and see an alignment of morning planets, including Mars and Jupiter and Mercury. And uniquely, you're going to be able to see 6 planets in the night sky. All in all, the night of August 12th and morning of August 13th is going to be something you can talk about for years to come. Well, on that note, let us see what stories we have in the news, because we do live in interesting times, folks. An unearthed video exposes El Sayed's opinion on driver's license for illegal immigrants. Abdul El Sayed, a Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate in Michigan, once proposed allowing undocumented immigrants to get their driver's license, making the case that not doing so would be discriminatory. Yes, they break the law to get here, but if you don't give them everything they want, you're discriminating. And so we're going to make sure that in this state we're not discriminating against documentation status. Right now, if you're undocumented, you don't get access to a driver's license. You're stuck, he said in a 2018 campaign interview. At the time he's running for governor. 8 years later, as he looks to join the Senate, this resurfaced clip sheds light on his past thinking about how local government should interact with illegal aliens, and raises questions about whether granting them state identification would in some ways legitimize their presence in the U.S. The fact that he got elected says something about the folks in that state. Hans von Spakovsky, an elections expert for Advancing American Freedom, explained a license connects the doorway to a range of government benefits. Because America doesn't have a national ID card like the Europeans and other nations, state driver's licenses are a stand-in for that ID card. Issuing a license to aliens would help them in all the instances where a license is needed, from opening bank accounts to all types of other transactions. He noted that I-9 forms, paperwork for employment eligibility, regularly require little else than a driver's license. And of course, there'll be a major court battle over whether or not the licenses show they're undocumented. Those that are absolutely supporting the right of the undocumented to come here and just kind of take over are not going to want that to show up at all. Well, President Trump has gotten what is being referred to as a triple bogey. Apparently, according to the powers that be, President Trump is easily the best golfer among all the presidents, and that gets him a lot of support. Ask ChatGPT or any AI agent, it's not even a remotely close question. He is by far the best golfer. Having been a caddy since 1966, a lot of folks who are holding forth on the internet make mention, in fact, they carried lots of clubs and raked plenty of traps and held a lot of pins, and but President Trump can routinely shave a stroke off of par on any given hole. It wouldn't surprise anybody if there's an eagle or two every month of rounds, because he does, in spite of his demanding job, he does get the time on the course. But as no golfer's perfect, he's bound to have had some awful rounds and some very bad holes. Not Tin Cup Kevin Costner bad, but still bad. Has to go OB on his drive at least occasionally. A 3-putt on top of hitting 3 off the tee. And that's usually triple bogey land for even good amateurs and most pros. And but everybody needs a distraction of some sort, and his is golf. Well, after years of debate, former COVID response coordinator acknowledges, and my screen just went blank. There we go. Pandemic source is probably a lab leak. Fauci fought that. And now it turns out it's very probably true. Former Biden White House COVID-19 response coordinator, Dr. Ashish Jha, revealed in a Sunday interview on CNN he believes COVID-19 was likely caused by a lab leak. During an interview with CNN's Dana Bash, she highlighted how Jha had retweeted commentator Jamie Metzel's lengthy social media post, saying he believed COVID-19 originated from a lab leak at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And while the lab leak theory is widely disputed early in the pandemic, and some social media platforms restricted certain related claims under their COVID-19 misinformation policies, John responded by declaring in 2026, "I pretty much agree with everything." After Bash highlighted the tweet, he confirmed he agreed with it, making a change from the initial beliefs he held when he first entered the Biden administration. Well, nationwide power failure hits the Caribbean island as American citizens are warned to prepare. If you're legally traveling to Cuba, you should expect major disruptions because of the country's blackout crisis, according to officials. In a statement obtained by Fox News, U.S. Embassy in Havana said the country is currently experiencing a total power failure due to its electrical grid collapsing. All U.S. citizens in Cuba or planning to travel to Cuba should be aware and plan accordingly. The latest outage marks Cuba's 6th nationwide grid failure in 2026, according to officials. 3 occurred in July alone. Residents are currently suffering from intense heat and a lack of air conditioning. A lot of sleeping outside near the water to escape the sweltering temperatures. Sunday's highest temperature was 93. Though it felt like 106 with the Caribbean's 80% humidity levels. That's according to Associated Press. Though Cuba is in no means a tourism hotspot, it still attracts visitors from around the world, including Americans. U.S. law forbids any American to travel to Cuba for tourism purposes, though some visits are permitted under a dozen categories. The Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Asset Control says Americans may travel to Cuba for purposes including family visits, journalism, education, religious activities, humanitarian projects, and support for the Cuban people. Yes, go shower them with money. Well, Women's Tour de France hit with a scandal as teams accuse riders of wearing padded bras to gain an advantage. A lot of accusations of padded bras being used for aerodynamic advantage, taking the cycling world by storm as the Tour de France film takes place across Switzerland and France. Controversy is heating up just as the third stage resulted in the longest solo breakaway victory in the race's history. I ought to be mentioned that there's currently no indication that the padded bra played any part in that. Not since the Winter Olympics was put on edge by the ski jump penis injection rumors has the sport faced such a potential scandal. Dutch outlet Willeflits reported receiving several complaints from women's world teams about female cyclists exploiting their breast size in time trials by faking a larger cup size using padding in their bras. A rounded chest, an advantage in certain other ways, also helps reduce aerodynamic drag through something called chest fairing. That's according to Bert Blocken, a professor of aerodynamics at Heriot-Watt University in Scotland and Lut in Finland. And the use, interestingly enough, of a padded bra is prohibited under the regulations of the International Cycling Union. Makes it clear you can't place objects on the chest or use clothing to alter the body shape of a rider. Well, some of the things that people do, just absolutely mind-boggling. Well, living longer could hinge on one surprising dietary change, according to a new study. Eating less protein, not cutting calories, may be an easier path to a longer, healthier life for sedentary adults, according to a new scientific study. Our previous research has long tied calorie restriction to improved lifespan and lower rates of age-related disease. Studies have found that many people have difficulty maintaining strict low-calorie diets. A review of more than 350 studies published in the journal Cell Press Blue suggests that targeted protein restrictions can deliver similar metabolic benefits without the need to cut calories. And across the reviewed studies, lower protein intake was associated with better metabolism, altered nutrient signaling, reduced cellular damage, and improved cellular maintenance. That's according to the published review. Much of the benefit stems from metabolic hormone known as fibroblast, growth factor 21, or FGF21. Restricting protein triggers a surge in FGF21, which animal studies have shown can boost energy expenditure, reduce inflammation, improve blood sugar control, and extend lifespan. And of course, everybody's goal is to actually live forever. Well, there's been a number of female athletes publishing blog posts. Kristen Wagner said she was a female athlete. Now she fights women in court. And we need more Sophie Cunninghams. Now, sports have played a crucial role in her life, she said. Growing up, she ran cross country and was coached by her dad in basketball until she found her true love, volleyball. She loved being a setter to the point that she dreamed about making plays. It taught her the things the sport often does: willpower, loyalty, discipline, and how to come back swinging when you get knocked down. Well, the Seattle Storm co-owner has suspended for cursing a lot of young fans who support Sophie Cunningham. She has made a name for herself in a number of interesting ways. Well, Clay Travis ups an offer to $10 million for the WNBA champion Las Vegas Aces to play high school boys basketball team. WNBA, which continues to struggle to turn a profit, has received a very generous offer to move up to the league's stated political views and ideology. When Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham publicly stated that she believed women's sports should be for women and not for biological males, it set off a firestorm of hatred and anger and public rebukes from much of the league. Several coaches actually spoke out against her, while their own head coach pretended as though she doesn't understand the biological differences between males and females. And unfortunately, there seems to be a lot of people that don't understand that difference. Players wore shirts with obvious pointed critiques of Cunningham's statement, which were then celebrated by their team's social media accounts. She's been booed as a visiting player, elbowed in the face, and then called for a foul herself, all while some fans have been allowed to bring in signs expressing hatred toward her and the all-inclusive WNBA. Well, with virtually no other players or coaches issuing statements of support for Cunningham and instead near universal criticism and reality denial, Outkick founder Clay Travis has a competing offer for the league's best team. Live up to what you believe in. Travis, who's made much such offers in the past, upped it on Monday afternoon. He says, I'm upping my offer, $10 million for a head-to-head basketball game between the defending NBA champion Las Vegas Aces and a boys' high school state title team of his choice. If the Aces beat my team, I'll give them $10 million. Hell, for $10 million, who knows what's going to happen. Well, Nancy Guthrie ransom notes release follows the Unabomber precedent that cracked the case, according to an expert. Veteran retired investigator following the Nancy Guthrie case said the release of 2 purported ransom notes echoes the investigator's strategy that helped identify the Unabomber. As authorities hope the messages will generate new tips 6 months after a suspected kidnapping in Tucson, Arizona. Law enforcement rarely makes the deliberate call to release an offender's own words to the public, according to Lisa Miller, retired investigator from the Colorado Attorney General's office. While she's not connected to the Guthrie investigation, she's been following it closely for the past 6 months. The last major precedent, 1995, the Unabomber Manifesto, published on the FBI's recommendation. They bet somebody recognized the writing, and it worked. So a lot of folks want to try it now. David Kaczynski and his wife, Linda Patrick, recognized Ted Kaczynski's writing style and alerted authorities. Ted was arrested in 1996, pled guilty 2 years later to avoid a death penalty. Spent most of his time behind bars at the ADX Florence Supermax prison in Colorado. According to FBI records, Kaczynski sent a 35,000-word manifesto outlining his motives and views of the ills of modern society. And his own words got him caught. Well, there's a timeline of how the White House fight over woke history has unfolded. We're talking about Trump versus Smithsonian. President Donald Trump's efforts to root out what his administration calls woke ideology at Smithsonian has grown to one of the most extensive White House reviews of the institution in decades. Smithsonian oversees 21 museums, the National Zoo, and nearly 157 million objects and specimens, while getting more than $1 billion annually in federal funding outside of private side dollars. Administration's campaign has placed the taxpayer-supported institution at the center of a broader debate over patriotism, historical interpretation, and the role of federally funded cultural institutions amid a growing divide over how people view and retell the American story. And unfortunately, woke ideology has worked its way into almost everything these days. Well, a Washington man's been arrested on arson charges tied to the devastating Spokane wildfire. He was arrested Monday on a first-degree arson charge in connection with the Old Trails fire, one of several wildfires that have destroyed hundreds of structures and forced tens of thousands of people to evacuate the Spokane area. Aaron Franassi, 37, was taken into custody after Spokane County Sheriff's Office detectives and Washington Department of Natural Resources investigators developed probable cause to arrest him, according to the Sheriff's Office. Citizen tips and information from Airway Heights police officers and Spokane County Sheriff's deputies who responded to the initial call and conducted evacuations helped lead investigators to Farinashi, according to the sheriff's office. Authorities described him as a convicted felon from Arizona, but said they'd found no documented criminal history involving fires. Investigators haven't connected him to the two other major blazes burning in the area, the Autumn Lane and the Fairview fire. You know you've made it as a fire when you get your own name. A federal judge blocks a New York law banning ICE agents from wearing masks. Federal judge on Monday blocked key portions of the New York law that would have prohibited federal immigration agents from wearing masks and required them to display visible identification while carrying out their duties. Yes, District Judge Nate D'Agostino of the Northern District of New York issued a preliminary injunction preventing the state from enforcing the two provisions while the legal challenge to the law continues to move forward. In a ruling, she found the challenged provisions were likely unconstitutional because they interfere with federal law enforcement operations, including those that carried out by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the FBI, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Judge said only the federal government has the authority to establish policies governing federal law enforcement operations. Therefore, New York State cannot dictate how federal agents perform their official duties. The ruling said New York cannot impose its own uniform requirements on federal agents simply because it disagrees with how the federal government's exercising its authority. Governor Kathy Hochul and New York Attorney General Letitia James criticized the court's decision to block the mask ban, saying they're currently reviewing more legal options. Well, Letitia James is a great one to talk. The Democrats blink as shut it down Schumer helps the GOP clear a key shutdown hurdle. Senate Republicans opted to strike on bipartisan momentum and take a key step to prevent a government shutdown almost 2 months before the deadline. Upper chamber voted in a bipartisan wave to clear the final procedural hurdle for a short-term funding extension that would see the government open through the midterm elections in early December. It comes after Republicans have spent months hand-wringing that Democrats would again shut the government down to score political points during the pivotal November election. And shut it down Schumer is one of the leaders of the shutdown movement. The actual deadline to fund the government's not till September 30th, when the current fiscal year expires. But Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Republican of South Dakota, argues it's better to move now than to wait to create more certainty in the upcoming weeks. Well, we'll see what happens. Emily Ratajkowski turns heads of bikini-filled July photo dump. She's looking back on a month filled with sunshine and swimsuits and seaside views. 35-year-old model shared a carousel of photos from her summer travels on Instagram, writing the month in Spanish, Greek, and English. Among the snapshots was a close-up selfie of her wearing a navy blue bikini covered in white polka dots inside a coastal home. It's nice these millionaires go to all these places and take all their photos and release them for us poor peons who have to work for a living. All right. Let's see what stories we've got to talk about today. Excuse me. You know, there's been a lot of things we've been talking about. One of the things we've talked about, of course, has been Roswell. There's a lot of theories about alien encounters. The Roswell incident of July 1947 has captured the imagination of UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists alike, serving as a fertile ground for a myriad of theories on alien encounters. This legendary event, often associated with supposed UFO crash, raises profound questions about the nature of extraterrestrial life and humanity's position within the cosmos. Investigating the theories surrounding alien encounters sheds light on the significance of Roswell and its impact on public perception of UFOs and potential alien civilizations. You know, the There's a lot of folks who lived in Roswell in 47 who, over the years, came forward with stories about their interaction with not only the debris that were collected, but with alleged alien bodies. And in fact, Clifford Stone wrote an interesting book. He said he was involved in a government program to collect the remains of crashed UFOs. Now, if you go to Amazon, Kindle, look up Ken Hudnall, we've got several books on crashed UFOs we've written. I wrote one called Beyond Roswell. It talks about a number of crashes the government didn't want us to discuss. You know, theories regarding alien encounters vary widely, ranging from the plausible to the outright fantastic. There's a number of prevalent ideas that have emerged since the Roswell incident. The most straightforward theory believes that there are civilizations beyond Earth capable of interstellar travel. Proponents of this theory often cite the vastness of the universe as a fertile ground for life beyond our own planet. Some theorists argue that the U.S. government's engaged in a systematic cover-up regarding alien encounters. This theory suggests that not only was the Roswell crash an actual event involving extraterrestrial craft, but that high-ranking officials actively sought to conceal evidence of such events to avoid mass panic. And if you read my book, Beyond Roswell, I'll talk about a number of crashes that the government still won't talk about. Now, skeptics often present an alternative theory, claiming that sightings of unidentified flying objects can be attributed to natural phenomena, such as atmospheric events or advanced military aircraft. And this perspective aligns with the original explanation provided by the U.S. military after the crash. It was just a weather balloon, nothing to see here, move on. More exotic theory suggests that alien encounters may involve beings from parallel dimensions rather than distant planets. This theory invokes advanced concepts from quantum physics, proposing that individuals have accidentally glimpsed into alternative realities. And some researchers suggest that alien encounters can be better understood as manifestations of psychological experiences, including sleep paralysis or mass hysteria. The allure of the unknown might distort perception and provoke collective delusions in certain settings. Now, distinct from the theories themselves, the Roswell incident serves as both a touchstone for ongoing discourse regarding alien encounters and a potential symbol of the government's secrecy that has infused UFO-related narratives. The alleged recovery of a flying disc by military personnel defined how the American public would view the possibility of alien life. And this, of course, led to a profound cultural shift characterized by widespread speculation and mistrust. Roswell incident turned from a local spectacle into an international phenomenon, transformed the alien encounter narrative into a staple of both popular culture and conspiracy theory. And over the decades, beliefs surrounding alien encounters evolved. In the 50s and 60s, a cultural fascination with UFOs emerged, amplified through media depictions and documentation and first-hand accounts by those claiming to have had close encounters. During this period of time, there was a rise of UFO cults and organizations. Groups such as MUFON and Aerial Phenomena Research Organizations were founded, promoting citizen-led investigations and credible reporting of sightings. Influence of popular media, such as films and TV shows, they began exploring alien themes, forming a cultural stereotype that depicted extraterrestrials either as malevolent conquerors or benign beings seeking to aid humanity. And of course, in the late 20th century, there was a wave of skepticism among journalists and scholars who began to question the veracity of alien encounter claims, leading to critical analysis of the evidence that had been presented. Despite the ongoing investigations and theories that arose after the Roswell incident, the question of what truly happened still remains unresolved. Amid evolving public perceptions and fervent discussions, theories of alien encounters have flourished, generating both fascination and skepticism. As the narrative surrounding Roswell continues to evolve, it remains a cornerstone of the larger conversation about extraterrestrial life and unexplained phenomena that blanketed our skies. Ultimately, the Roswell incident can be viewed as a lens through which we explore our deepest desires, fears, and curiosities about the universe and our place in it. An enigma that may never be fully understood. When you talk about the Roswell incident, you can't overlook the pervasive government cover-up allegations that have been intertwined with the narrative. Initial excitement in July 1947 about a flying disc found near Roswell transformed markedly, giving way to a slew of conspiracy theories suggesting the U.S. government engaged in a deliberate effort to suppress revelations about extraterrestrial encounters. Remember, we went from Walter Haut's press release that we'd captured a flying disc to General Ramey saying, no, we didn't. It was a weather balloon. In the weeks immediately following the alleged recovery of a crashed disc, the U.S. Army and Air Force stated they had retrieved a flying disc. But in a matter of days, that revelation was recanted. Instead, they said it was merely a downed weather balloon. This abrupt reversal triggered suspicions about the true nature of the incident. The revised statement raised more questions than it answered, leading to an enduring belief the government had something to hide. And for decades, the Roswell incident has become a focal point for conspiracy theories. Serves as a prime example of how narratives can be twisted by both media sensationalism and public skepticism toward government transparency. To better understand the allegations surrounding the Roswell incident, we have to look at a timeline of the event. It was July 8, 1947, the Roswell Army Airfield announced the recovery of a flying disc. On July 9, 1947, the Army modified its statement to assert it was just a weather balloon. 1978, UFO researcher Stanton Friedman interviewed Jesse Marcel, a key witness, and rekindled the interest in the incident. Jesse Marcel was the intelligence officer at the base. He took a government sedan out and filled up the back seat with what was described as unusual wreckage. And then from the 1980s onward, there have been various books and documentaries emerged of propelling Roswell into the forefront of UFO literature. Each event in this timeline contributed to a building narrative of cover-up and further fueling the claims the government was intentionally misleading the public. A primary source for allegations of a cover-up came from eyewitnesses, several of whom claimed to have seen military personnel handling debris, asserting it was not a weather balloon, but something rather more extraordinary. And these testimonies often dominate UFO literature. Important accounts include Jesse Marcel's claims that the materials he examined were not typical of weather balloons. Glenn Dennis, a mortician, was reported witnessing military personnel displaying alien corpses in a military facility. And there were multiple unnamed sources, various local ranchers and civilians, who reported military presence near the crash site in the days after the incident. And these accounts, no matter how fragmented they might be, create a mosaic of suspicion around the government's intention behind its narrative. Now, the recurring theme of government denial and secrecy only exacerbated suspicion. As public interest in UFO phenomena grew throughout the latter half of the 20th century, various governments, including the U.S., published reports that made references to national security concerns, suggesting revealing information about UFO sightings or incidents could compromise the safety of the public. In 1994, the U.S. Air Force released a report titled The Roswell Report, Fact versus Fiction in the New Mexico Desert. They claimed it was going to clarify the events surrounding the incident and concluded from the debris found was likely from Project Mogul, a classified program designed to detect Soviet nuclear bomb tests. And despite this report attempting to demystify the incident, a lot viewed it as just another layer of the cover-up. The allegations surrounding the Roswell incident enriched the tapestry of American folklore, inspired an entire subculture of believers and skeptics alike. Books and television shows and films capitalized on the notion of government concealment of alien life. This cultural phenomenon has led to a more profound distrust in government transparency, with conspiracy theories flourishing in this modern digital age. Well, the question remains, what actually happened? What crashed at Roswell? Why the abrupt shift in the Army's official narrative? The enduring allure of the Roswell incident lies not only in the potential truth behind the event, but also in the ever-present narrative of distrust in government institutions. The Roswell incident raises a series of events that contributed to an evergreen discourse surrounding UFOs and government secrecy. Allegations of cover-up reveal how powerful narratives can dominate public perception, turning a military mishap into a lasting enigma that captures all who dare to delve into it. As long as there are unanswered questions, the allure of conspiracies will persist, ensuring the Roswell incident remains a fixture in UFO lore. The broader investigation into human encounters with the unexplained. And there's a number of names that pop up whenever you talk about Roswell. First and foremost was Major Jesse Marcel. He was a key figure in the Roswell incident, played an instrumental role in shaping the narrative surrounding one of the most famous cases in the field of ufology. His testimony, his actions, and the subsequent media coverage transformed a military press release into an enduring mystery that captured the imagination of the day. Major Marcel served as an intelligence officer in the United States Army Air Force, stationed at Roswell Army Airfield in New Mexico during the late 1940s. And his job was interpreting and analyzing classified military material. And his military prospects were bright, but the events surrounding July 1947 would forever intertwine his name with one of the most controversial extraterrestrial incidents in history. The story began July 8, 1947, as I've said several times, when local rancher Mac Brazil discovered unusual debris scattered across his land. Well, he originally dismissed it as a weather balloon, later reported to find to the local sheriff. Major Marcel was dispatched to investigate. When he got there, he was, according to his own statements, taken back by what he had found. In a nutshell, he described the debris as unlike anything he'd ever seen before. The debris was lightweight and strong. The wreckage couldn't be bent or broken, regardless of how much force was applied. Some pieces had unidentifiable symbols and a reflective surface. And while it was clearly man-made, it didn't resemble any known military technology at the time. He later said, "We weren't dealing with a weather balloon. This was something beyond our worldly understanding." Well, his initial assessment led him to believe it was not of terrestrial origin. But of course, the military soon issued a press release claiming the recovered flying disc was nothing more than a weather balloon. And this contrast to Marcel's own findings began the unraveling in the official narrative. As the media began covering the incident, Major Marcel found himself serving as a primary spokesperson. But this role would come with immense pressure. July 9, 1947, he was photographed with pieces of debris, and he expressed his genuine astonishment at the nature of what he had recovered. Despite his conviction, higher authorities quickly silenced him. A few days after the press release, Major Marcel was instructed to retract his statements and support the balloon theory. His earlier detailed descriptions were minimized in favor of a simpler narrative. He faced pressure from military superiors to conform to the government's official stance, compelled him to recant his previous assertions publicly. Unfortunately, the retraction only fueled further speculation and conspiracy theories. Complete contradiction between what Marcel initially reported and the military's redefinition raised questions about what was the truth. Well, the Roswell incident had a lasting impact on Major Marcel's life. Though he did adhere to the military's official narrative out of obligation, he never dismissed the otherworldly possibility. In subsequent years, he openly discussed the incident in interviews, often expressing regret for not being able to reveal the full truth. His quest for the truth continued long after the Roswell incident. He made such comments as, "I've seen things I couldn't explain. I hope one day the truth will come out." These statements, frequently revisited in interviews and articles, indicate a man who grappled with conflicting loyalties, duty to his country, and the burden of knowledge that he felt should not remain hidden. Major Marcel ultimately became a symbol of the UFO community. His experiences added depth to the mystery of the Roswell incident and raised critical questions about government transparency regarding extraterrestrial encounters. Conflicting accounts ignited public curiosity and skepticism, leading to an insatiable appetite for conspiracy theories surrounding UFOs. Well, his first-hand accounts directly contradicted the official narrative. There's no question about that. His experiences reflect ongoing themes of secrecy, integrity, and a search for truth. Over the decades, Marcel's legacy continues to stoke interest in the Roswell incident and the broader implications of extraterrestrial life. He never really revealed a lot of what he had seen until he was contacted by UFO researcher Stanton Friedman. And Friedman got him to open up about a lot of things. While many figures in history fade into obscurity, Jesse Marcel's role in the Roswell incident remains foundational, a permanent cornerstone in the ever-evolving discourse surrounding unidentified flying objects. As enthusiasts and researchers seek answers, Marcel's narrative continues to inspire and provoke at the same time. The Roswell incident remains one of the most pivotal moments in UFO history. Its impact has been significantly shaped by the accounts of witnesses. The veracity of these testimonies, ranging from military personnel to local residents, continues to fuel debates about what really occurred in June and July of 1947. As we go through the layers of narrative built by these witnesses, several key themes emerge that help us understand the larger ramifications of the incident on public perception and government discourse regarding extraterrestrial life. I had the opportunity to talk at some length with Jesse Marcel's son, who was a surgeon. He had the opportunity to handle all the stuff his father brought home, and he had a lot of things to say. The credibility of eyewitness accounts is paramount in understanding the Roswell incident. Over the years, numerous testimonies have surfaced. Many of them contradict one another. Among the individuals who were interviewed was Mac Brazil himself, the rancher who discovered the wreckage, previously stated it wasn't from this earth, and of course Major Marcel. And then Glenn Dennis, he was a mortician who reported seeing alien bodies at a crash site. As these narratives emerged, they contributed to a growing wrench in the accepted explanation put forth by the military that the debris was simply from a weather balloon. The stark contrast between eyewitness testimonies and official government statements led a lot of folks to question the reliability of the U.S. military's narrative. In an effort to pacify initial outrage about a UFO recovery, military officials quickly rebranded the materials as part of a weather balloon program, which only stoked public disbelief and suspicion. And according to one local resident, the more they tried to cover it up, the more curious we became. If they'd have just left it alone, it would have probably faded away. Well, the Roswell incident didn't just impact individual witnesses, it created a ripple effect through the local community. Reports of strange lights in the sky and unexplainable phenomena began to circulate, leading a lot of civilians to embrace the idea of extraterrestrial visitors. Local citizens who encountered the unexplained began to connect over shared experiences, fostering a community steeped in curiosity and conspiracy. Newspapers began to cover the incident more closely, further normalizing conversations about UFOs among the general populace. Witness testimonies had the power to fuel speculation and ignite public interest. In Roswell, residents began discussing not just what happened on that day, but what it meant for humanity as a whole. Those who witnessed the events surrounding the Roswell incident have reported a range of psychological effects. The overwhelming nature of their experiences often led to feelings of isolation and fear. A lot of witnesses feared that speaking out would ruin their reputation or careers, and that fear was compounded by government attention. And I talked about the uncle of a friend of my wife's who, as a boy, was a gopher for Mac Brazil. When the counterintelligence corps came in and started threatening people, he was so scared he went back to Mexico and never will come back, not even for a visit. Some individuals later came forward unearthing their memories years after the event, suggesting that suppression was a common coping mechanism. And those who spoke out often felt a lifelong passion driven by the desire to uncover what they called the truth. The various aspects of individuals have transformed the Roswell incident from a mere event into a cornerstone of UFO discourse. Sheer volume and variety of testimonies have compelled researchers, historians, and amateur enthusiasts alike to investigate even further. They challenge the national narrative provided by government institutions, thereby placing witnesses at the forefront of UFO debates. Well, witnesses to the Roswell incident remain pivotal figures in the quest for truth regarding the event. Their accounts not only complicate the narrative, but also shine a light on the broader implications for society's understanding of extraterrestrial phenomena. Whether credible or otherwise, each account serves as a piece of an extensive puzzle, capturing public imagination and shaping the future of UFO discourse. Witness testimonies are proven to be just as influential as the physical evidence, or lack of physical evidence, as the case may be. As we delve deeper into the Roswell incident, it's clear that the collective voices of those brave enough to speak out have not only influenced historical interpretations, but continue to invite new generations of truth seekers into the tantalizing realm of the unknown. When the unfolding saga of the Roswell incident, investigative journalists emerged as crucial players in revealing the truth behind the crash in 1947. While government narratives shifted and evolved over the decades, it was these intrepid reporters who dedicated themselves to peeling back the layers of silence, disinformation, and secrecy surrounding the event. We're going to explore the contributions of these journalists, their methodologies, and implications of their findings on our understanding of this unique event in UFO history. Now, 1947 was marked by a significant rise in interest surrounding UFOs and extraterrestrial life, culminating in numerous reported sightings across the United States. The Roswell incident, initially downplayed by military spokespeople, began to form an enigmatic puzzle that journalists are eager to investigate. In the age of Cold War paranoia, every news bulletin about unidentified flying objects captured the public's imagination and skepticism alike. Investigative journalists utilized several key strategies to uncover the Roswell truth. A lot of journalists went to Roswell, conducting first-hand interviews with witnesses, including military personnel and civilians who witnessed the crash. Reporters also used the Freedom of Information Act request to sift through government documentation and uncover any hidden truths. And as the story gained traction, journalists began collaborating with scientists and historians and ufology specialists, leading to a richer understanding of the incident. A handful of standout journalists made impactful contributions to the Roswell narrative, lending their voices to raise critical questions and fostering public discourse. The first one was a local reporter for the Roswell Daily Record named Frank Evans. He first reported on the recovery of a flying disc. His initial enthusiasm for the story was later tempered by military declarations. Then, of course, there was Stanton Friedman, who I got to know fairly well over the years. Nuclear physicist turned ufologist. He investigated the Roswell incident and researched military witness accounts, arguing for the authenticity of UFOs and government cover-ups. Linda Moulton Howe, investigative reporter known for her controversial work on animal mutilations and extraterrestrial research. She added layers to the investigation, suggesting alien technology could be linked to the crash. Well, the work of these journalists had profound implications, pushing the boundaries of official narratives. They sparked public interest and debate and challenged the prevailing notion that the military's version of events was accurate. As witnesses came forward, discrepancies began to emerge between civilian accounts and military reports. The persistent narrative of a weather balloon as the cause of the crash began to lose traction among the public, thanks in large part to media scrutiny. And their work laid the groundwork for countless books and documentaries and discussions, not just about Roswell, but about UFOs in general. The investigative efforts surrounding Roswell encouraged other journalists and enthusiasts to pursue the truth about unexplained phenomena. Persistent questions that rose spurred books and documentaries and public interest groups devoted to unraveling potential military cover-ups and the implications of extraterrestrial existence. Every new revelation about Roswell has been a stepping stone, drawing more people into the web of intrigue tied to the very fabric of American military records and American military secrets. As the internet became a dominant platform for information sharing, the nature of investigative journalism underwent a transformation. Platforms like Twitter, or X, and Facebook allow for rapid dissemination of information, enabling real-time discussions about ongoing research and findings related to Roswell and other UFO incidents. Journalists now have unprecedented access to databases that house government documents and interviews and first-hand accounts, making it easier to cross-reference information. And individuals began documenting their findings and observations, leading to a democratization of research and that empowers everyday people to contribute to the ongoing investigation of the UFO phenomena. And from the early days of the Roswell incident to the current era of digital journalism, investigative journalists have played a vital role in shedding light on the complexities surrounding UFOs and government secrecy. Their relentless pursuit of truth not only fueled public interest, but also paved the way for future inquiries into extraterrestrial encounters and the very nature of reality itself. And as we continue to explore the remnants of the Roswell crash, we have to honor the legacy of those who dared to investigate, and in doing so, risk everything for the truth. Well, from the investigators, let's turn to the Air Force's report, the 1994 report and its findings. The events surrounding the Roswell incident have inspired fervent debate, conspiracy theories, and tall tales for decades. But in 1994, the Air Force sought to shed light on what has become an enduring enigma. Their official investigation, encapsulated in a report released to the public, aimed to clarify the happenings of July 1947, when locals claimed that a flying disc crashed near the small town of Roswell, New Mexico. We're going to talk about the report and its findings, exploring the complexities surrounding the incident and the broader implications for both UFO enthusiasts and the general public alike. In the spring of 1994, the U.S. Air Force published a document titled The Roswell Report, Fact versus Fiction in the New Mexico Desert. This was a consequential effort to address the long-standing myths that had sprung up in the aftermath of the Roswell incident. The report was a product of years of research and interviews and investigations. It sought to debunk what many had come to consider as a cover-up by piecing together historical context and providing a detailed examination of the testimony surrounding the event. Well, there are a number of key findings in this report. First and foremost, the report decisively argued that no UFO extraterrestrial technology was recovered at the Roswell site. Instead, according to the report, the object in question was identified as debris from a high-altitude balloon related to Project Mogul, an initiative targeting Soviet nuclear tests. A lot of witnesses who claim to have seen alien bodies have their accounts attributed to misinterpretation or a heightened emotional response connected to the events after World War II. The report suggests their memories of civilian witnesses likely became conflated over time with the era's broader fears of nuclear warfare and the secrets of military experimentation. Excuse me. And of course, there was the discussion of Project Mogul. Bursting onto the scene as a central figure in the report, Project Mogul involved a series of military tests utilizing balloons that carried sensitive listening devices intended to monitor nuclear activity in the Soviet Union. And one such balloon reportedly crashed near Roswell, which was mistaken for a UFO by shocked locals. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm coughing this morning. For many UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists, the findings in the 94 report were a bitter pill to swallow. Disappointment set in for those who yearned for confirmation of extraterrestrial life, while the report reaffirmed the belief among skeptics that the mystery had been sufficiently unraveled. The Air Force had done little to quell the frenzy surrounding Roswell. If anything, they've ignited it further through their attempts to clarify, according to many. 94 report not only attempted to address the myths surrounding Roswell, but inadvertently created further layers of speculation. UFO proponents asserted the military's acknowledgement of Project Mogul underscored the existence of a cover-up, suggesting the government had secrets it continued to withhold to this day. Key elements of the report, such as the limited transparency. Critics noted that the Air Force's investigation lacked full transparency, particularly regarding declassified documents and testimonies, and a suggestion that the military engaged in opaqueness only contributed to this conspiracy theorist rhetoric who saw it as an invitation to dig deeper into purported government cover-ups. The responses to the 94 report varied widely, with some lauding the report for its candor and others dismissing it as mere propaganda. Skeptics applauded the report for attempting to demystify the claims surrounding the Roswell incident, viewing it as a step toward rationality. Conversely, UFO proponents argued the absence of hard evidence could just as easily signify a greater conspiracy, perpetuating the idea that the truth about aliens was forever obscured. Well, the 94 report represented a watershed moment in the Roswell saga, sought to close the door on long-held myths surrounding the incident while also inviting additional questioning. While it may spark a renewed discourse on the veracity of government narratives concerning unidentified flying objects, also exemplified the complex interplay between fact and fiction in the world of UFO phenomena. And as we continue to delve into the tapestry of the UFO incident, it becomes clear the allure of the unknown remains alive and well, fueled by the very findings intended to lay the matter to rest. Well, the infamous Roswell incident of July 47 transformed from a mere meteorological balloon recovery into an international mystery laden with theories surrounding extraterrestrial life. At the heart of these shifting narratives is a complex tapestry woven from witness reports, military statements, and alleged evidence. To dissect the enigma, we have to examine the available evidence critically, transcending myth to grapple with undeniable facts. One of the most compelling aspects of the Roswell incident lies in the testimonies of those who claim to have witnessed unusual debris. And those testimonies can be categorized into several groups. Military personnel. Number one, several members of the armed forces reported seeing strange materials recovered from the crash site. Most notably, there was Major Jesse Marcel, an intelligence officer, asserted that the wreckage was unlike anything he'd ever encountered. He described that material as lightweight, incredibly durable, and possessing strange properties, such as being able to return to its original shape after being bent. And of course, his son, Dr. Marcel, went into some detail about his observations. Civilians, local residents reported seeing debris scattered across the site alongside Air Force personnel collecting it. Witnesses like Frank O'Brien noted additional sightings of unmarked vehicles, military trucks hastily transporting objects away from the area. And the family of a farmer who claimed to have discovered bodies near the crash sites provided emphasis to the mystery. All these claims are often met with skepticism. Their persistence complicates the official narrative. And despite the passage of time, these testimonials serve as both evidence and the foundation for a lot of speculation. Well, the U.S. military's response to the incident has arguably been more influential than the initial discoveries. The initial press release from Roswell Army Airfield stated that a flying disc had been recovered, which of course morphed into the official story of a weather balloon. And this dramatic shift raised eyebrows and ignited conspiracy theories, as many perceived the change as an attempt to cover up a deeper truth. A series of government documents later released, including the Project Blue Book findings and other investigative reports, added to the convoluted narrative surrounding the event. Well, we'll probably never know for sure exactly what happened. The military still sticks to the weather balloon story, despite evidence to the contrary. And the witnesses who saw what they saw in 1947 stand by what they said. So there you have it. And on that note, we come to the end of today's show. We'll be back tomorrow and talk about more stories that are strangely unusual. Until then, this is Ken Hudnall for the Ken Hudnall Show saying have a truly great evening.